So far we know the rational numbers, and the rational numbers include all the numbers that can be represented as ratio. That means all the integers and terminating decimals and repeating decimals. But there are some numbers, decimal numbers, those are not terminating and also not repeating. There is no kind of repetition. Let's look at some of the numbers like this. I have 3 numbers on the screen here. Think of the numbers. What kind of decimal numbers are those? Are those terminating decimal numbers? Of course not, because we have some digits after decimal point and the periods. The dots tells us that the digits goes on. So those are not terminating decimal numbers. Now let's see, are those numbers repeating? Are those numbers repeating decimals? There are digits after decimal point. We can look at the digits and look at each of the numbers. The digits are not repeating. There is no pattern of repetition after the decimal point. There is no pattern of repetition. That means these numbers are not repeating decimal numbers. So what we have here? We have some numbers, some decimal numbers, those are not terminating decimal numbers, and those are not repeating decimal numbers also. So these numbers are different kind of decimal numbers. So we have to name them differently. What is the name? The name is irrational numbers. Those numbers are irrational numbers, just opposite of the rational. So those are not included in rational numbers, those are irrational numbers. Here, this value, it's a very special value here. This is a value that is a very special value, and this is the value of 5, and this is the value of square root of 2, and this is the value of square root of 3. There are so other numbers like this. We can easily identify the numbers. We can easily understand those numbers are not repeating, those numbers are not terminating decimals, because we can see the digits after the decimal point. There is no pattern of repetition, and of course those numbers are not terminating decimals because we have the dots after the digits. So all the non-terminating, non-repeating decimal numbers are irrational numbers. Non-terminating, non-repeating decimal numbers are irrational numbers. And these irrational numbers are also included in our real number system, but those are not related to the rational numbers. Those are just opposite to the rational numbers. Those cannot be included in rational numbers, and rational numbers cannot be included in irrational numbers. Those are two separate things. Those are the irrational numbers. So it is very easy to remember What are the irrational numbers? The decimal numbers that are not terminating, that are not repeating. Non-repeating, non-terminating, non-repeating decimal numbers are irrational numbers. And why those are irrational numbers? Because those cannot be represented as ratio. If you try to represent those numbers as ratio, you will either lose some value or you will gain some value. That means the exact value cannot be represented with the help of a ratio. You can try to represent, you will have a close value, but you will not have the exact value. We know sometimes we represent pi as the ratio 22/7, but that is not an exact value. So, irrational numbers cannot be represented as ratio without losing or gaining some value. Exact value of the irrational numbers cannot be represented as ratio. That's why those are the irrational numbers. And always remember, irrational numbers are included in real number system, but those are not included in rational numbers, and rational numbers are not included in irrational numbers. Thank you.